I used to love helping my friend. We'd go out, laugh, talk, and everything felt so easy. But then it started. Every time we went out, I ended up paying. They always promised to pay me back. I'd say, "No problem. Just pay me when you can." But they never did. It was like a game they played with me. I started making excuses. I'd say, "I can't make it," or "I have plans." But I knew the real reason. I just didn't want to say it out loud. It got to the point where I didn't even want to see them. Every time I did, I felt like I was losing more than I was gaining. I was tired of being their wallet. I never told them the real reason. I didn't want to hurt their feelings, or maybe I didn't want to admit that I was done. So what exactly are we talking about? It's not just about money. It's about trust, about being used, about feeling like you're always the one holding the bag. It's like every time you say, "Let's go out," it's a promise that you're going to pay. And every time you pay, it's a reminder that they're not going to keep their word. You start to feel like the only reason they want to hang out is because they need your money. And you start to wonder if you're being taken advantage of. And then you start making excuses. You start saying you can't go out, you can't hang out, you can't be their friend because it's just too much. It's not fair.
You start to realize that you're not just being asked to pay for things. You're being asked to carry the weight of their habits, their choices, and their lack of responsibility. It's not about being rude. It's about not wanting to be used, not wanting to be the one who's always giving and never getting anything in return. You think you're just helping a friend, but the truth is you're subsidizing their habits. Every time they ask for something, it's like you're financing their lifestyle, and you're never getting your money back. It's not about money, it's about respect. When they promise to pay you back, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about their own convenience, their own comfort. You start to feel like a charity. You're not a charity. You're a person with your own life, your own goals, your own needs, and they're treating you like an ATM. You're not just tired of paying, you're tired of being invisible. You're not just helping them, you're enabling them, and that's not a friendship. That's a debt. This isn't just about money. It's about boundaries. It's about self-respect. It's about realizing that you can't keep bailing someone out without losing yourself. I remember the first time they asked me for money. We were at a diner and they said they needed cash for a trip. I said I'd cover it and they said they'd pay me back next week. I kept doing it, always thinking they'd remember. But they never did. It was like a game of tag and I was always the one getting tagged first. I started making up excuses, work, family stuff. It wasn't just about money. It was about feeling like a doormat, always holding the door open for someone who never thanked me. I never told them the real reason. I didn't want to break the friendship, but I also didn't want to keep being the one who always paid. Eventually, I stopped seeing them. Not because I didn't care, but because I couldn't keep pretending I didn't mind being their wallet. I used to help them because they needed me. But then they started needing me all the time, and I kept giving them money. They said they'd pay me back, but they never did. I kept waiting, and every time they'd say they'd pay me back soon. I started skipping hangouts because I knew I'd have to pay again. I didn't want to be the one who always had to give. I never told them the real reason because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. But I was tired of being the one who always had the money. I learned that helping someone can become a burden, and sometimes you have to stop helping to protect yourself. We'd go to the same spots every time. A diner, a bar, a coffee shop. I'd always be the one buying, but they'd say they'd pay me back. I'd smile and nod like it didn't matter. They'd promise it again and again, but the money never came. It felt like a game I was losing. I'd tell myself it was just a few more times that they'd finally get it. They'd text me the day before saying they'd pay. I'd say, "No, I'll cover it." And they'd say, "Thanks, man," but I knew they were just trying to avoid the debt. I started making excuses. I couldn't go out, I had work, I had plans. But the truth was I was tired of being their wallet. I didn't want to be the one always giving them money. I didn't tell them the real reason. I didn't want to hurt their feelings. I wanted to keep things the way they were, but I knew I'd end up paying again and again and again. You start with a small loan like $50, and then it's $100, then $200. You think they'll pay me back, I just need to wait, but they never do. It's like you're holding this invisible debt that keeps growing. You start to track every time they ask for money. You note down the dates, the amounts, and the promises. It's like you're doing a job, but no one pays you for it. It's exhausting. One day you're at a cafe with them and you see the bill. They say, I'll pay, but you already know. You feel like you're walking on eggshells, waiting for the next debt to land. You start to avoid them, not because you don't care, but because you're tired. You don't want to be the one who always pays. You want to be treated like an equal, not a loan collector. You feel like you're losing your friend, but you can't keep doing this. You've put so much into their life and they never give anything back. You feel like you're being taken advantage of. So I started thinking about how I could make this situation work for me, not just for them. Maybe if I made them pay upfront, they'd take it seriously. I mean, how many times could I let them slide? I tried suggesting they pay me before we went out. They'd act like it was a big deal, but then they'd just forget. It was like trying to teach a fish to fly. Eventually, I got so tired of being the one who always paid, I started charging them for things we did together. It wasn't about money. It was about me not wanting to be the one who always got stuck. It was messy, but it worked. I stopped feeling like I was carrying their weight. I still care about them, but I can't keep helping someone who never helps themselves. The twist wasn't that I stopped helping them, it was that I finally made them pay for the help. And honestly, it felt like a relief. It's not just the money, it's the way they look at me when I pay. Like I'm some kind of charity case. They never see the weight of it, the way it drags me down. Every time I give them money, it's like I'm giving them a part of myself. And they take it without thinking, without caring. There's a science to it, a way the brain justifies the pain. You tell yourself you're helping, you're being generous, you're being a good friend. But the real science is how it changes you. It's not just about money, it's about trust. And when trust is broken, it's hard to rebuild. The more I paid, the more I felt like I was losing myself. I started to see the money as a kind of debt, and I wasn't willing to keep paying forever. You know when you're at a party and someone keeps asking you for money? Like they're always the one who needs something, but they never pay back. It's like they're just borrowing your wallet for fun. You start feeling like your wallet is a piggy bank for them. Every time they ask, you just nod and say sure, but you're secretly counting the days until you can just walk away. Eventually, you realize the only way to protect your wallet is to stop letting them near it. You start making excuses, like I'm busy or I can't go out tonight. It's not about them, it's about you. And you never tell them the real reason. Because you're afraid they'll think you're a bad friend, or worse, that you're just being selfish. But you're not, you're just tired. I kept telling myself it was just a loan. But every time I handed them money, it felt like I was handing over a part of myself. I would see them in line at the store or at the bar, and all I could think was, why does this always happen to me? They never meant to hurt me, but the way they treated me made me feel like a charity case. I started feeling like I was being used, not for what I gave, but for how much I gave. I didn't want to break things, but I couldn't keep pretending I wasn't tired. You think you're helping a friend, but really you're just covering for them. Every time they ask for something, they're not asking for help, they're asking for a free ride. I kept telling myself it was okay, that they'd pay me back. But the truth was, they never even remembered I had lent them anything. The real pain wasn't the money. It was the feeling of being used, like I was the only one who ever showed up for them. I started making up excuses to not hang out. I'd say I was busy, or I wasn't feeling well, or I just didn't want to be around them anymore. I never told them the real reason, because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. But I was hurting myself by pretending everything was fine. Okay, hear me out. The Kindle Paperwhite e-reader. Scan that QR code or grab it from the link in the description, and hit subscribe for more pics like this. I thought I was being fair, but I wasn't. I kept giving them money, thinking I was helping, but I was just losing my own. I was always the one with the extra cash, always the one with the extra card. I told myself I was just being a good friend, but honestly I was tired of being the one who always had to cover for them. I was tired of being their backup plan. I didn't want to ruin our friendship, but I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't keep pretending I was helping them. I was just helping myself. It wasn't about money, it was about respect. I wasn't their charity and I wasn't their backup. I was their friend and I deserved to be treated like one. You think it's just about money, but it's about control. Every time you lend them cash, you're giving them a way to manipulate you. They know you'll always say yes because you don't want to be the bad guy. You start to feel like you're walking on eggshells. You don't know if they're going to ask for more or if you're going to be blamed for not helping enough. It's not about the money, it's about who's in charge. You tell yourself it's not a big deal, but you start to notice the pattern. They always say they'll pay back, but it's never enough. You feel like you're just fueling their habit. You try to stay strong, but it's exhausting. You want to help, but you're tired of being taken advantage of. You start to see the real cost of letting people treat you like a bank account. It's not about the money, it's about being seen. You want to be a good friend, but you're not being respected. And that's the real pain of being someone's wallet. I was at a diner with them and they asked me to split the bill. I said I'd pay, but they insisted on paying. I felt like a fool, but I didn't say anything. They promised to pay me back the next week. I believed them, but the next week came and went, and they never did. I started feeling like a fool again, just for being nice. One day I made an excuse not to meet up. I said I had a meeting, but I knew I was lying. I just didn't want to feel like a fool again. I didn't tell them the real reason I stopped helping. I didn't want to hurt their feelings, but I also didn't want to keep giving them money they never paid back. In the end, I stopped helping because I got tired of being their wallet. I needed to stop giving them money they never earned. I started keeping track of how much I'd paid them, like a ledger in my head. Every time they asked for a ride or a drink, it added up. I felt like I was running a business and they were the client. I told myself I was being fair, that I was helping them out. But the truth was, I was tired of being the one who always had to carry the weight. I wanted to feel like I was being treated like an equal. One day I made a choice. I told them I couldn't help anymore. I said I needed to focus on my own life. They were surprised, maybe even hurt, but I didn't explain. I didn't want to make it about me. I felt guilty, like I was cutting them off. But I also felt a sense of relief. For the first time in a long time, I was taking care of myself, not just them. I didn't tell them the real reason, but I knew I was finally doing what I needed to do. I was no longer their wallet. I was finally my own person. One night they asked me for $500. I said no. They got angry. They said I was being unfair. They said I wasn't a friend anymore. I tried to be calm. I tried to say it was okay. But I could feel the walls closing in. I didn't want to be the bad guy, but I couldn't keep doing this. We talked for hours. They said they'd change. They said they'd pay me back. But I could see the same old patterns, the same excuses, the same lies. I left. I didn't say goodbye. I just walked away. I didn't want to give them another chance. I didn't want to be the one who kept helping. I didn't tell them why I left. I didn't want to hurt them. But I knew it was the only way. I couldn't keep being their wallet anymore. I kept telling myself it was okay, that I was just being responsible. But every time I handed them cash, it felt like I was giving them a gift they didn't earn. I started avoiding group plans because I knew I'd be the one paying for drinks, snacks, and even the taxi. It was like a silent war I couldn't win. I tried to be the bigger person, but eventually I had to stop pretending. I wasn't helping them out of love, I was helping them out of guilt. It's not about money. It's about respect, and the kind of respect that comes when you're treated like a real friend, not a piggy bank. Now, when I see them, I don't feel like I'm doing them a favor. I feel like I'm being robbed, not of money, but of my time, my trust, and my peace of mind. We didn't learn this from books or lectures. It was just something we figured out, like how to climb a tree or cross a stream. We learned by doing, by being tired, by being hurt. You don't need to be taught how to feel when someone takes without giving. You don't need a textbook to know when you're being used, when you're just being given away. We didn't talk about it. We just stopped showing up like a silent protest. We didn't want to say it out loud because it felt too real, too close to the truth. We didn't want to ruin the friendship, but we couldn't keep pretending. We had to start being the one who always paid, who always gave, who never got to take. One time we went to a concert. I paid for both tickets. They said they'd split it, but they never did. I just kept telling myself it was okay, even though it wasn't. I started asking them, when are you going to pay me back? And they'd say, I will, I just need time. But time never came. It just kept getting pushed back. I started to realize I wasn't just helping them out. I was subsidizing their whole life. And I was tired of being the one who always had to cover everything. One day I just said, I can't do this anymore. I stopped going out with them because I knew I'd be paying again. And I never told them the real reason. I feel bad for them, but I also feel like I was just being honest with myself. I had to start being their wallet or their excuse. What if we abused this on purpose? What if we made a game of it? Every time they asked for money, I just said, sure, let me pay it back later. It became a joke, a way to mark the whole situation. We'd pretend to be in on it, like we were part of some twisted heist. But the more we played, the more I realized I was just enabling their behavior. It wasn't funny anymore. I started to think, maybe I could use this as a way to teach them a lesson. Maybe I could take the money and say, here's your debt, but now it's your turn to pay. but I was scared of what they'd say. I didn't want to be the one to break the illusion. I didn't want to be the one who said, "This isn't a game anymore." It was easier to just keep pretending, even though I knew I was losing myself. The idea of turning it into a game was tempting, but I knew it would only make things worse. I was tired of being the one who paid, and I was tired of pretending it wasn't happening. This wasn't just about money. It was about being treated like an ATM. Every time they needed something, I was the one who had to say yes. I kept telling myself I was being kind, but I was just being used. I wanted to help, but I didn't want to be the one who always had to give. It wasn't just the money, it was the way they treated me. Like I owed them everything, even when I had nothing to give. It felt like I was being held hostage in my own life. Every time I said I was busy, they'd say, "You're just not helping enough." I didn't want to break things, but I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with being used. I had to stop, even if it hurt. Experts argue over whether it's a personality flaw or a financial system failing. Some say it's about poor money management, others say it's a deeper emotional issue. One says it's just bad habits, the other says it's a sign of deeper trust issues. They never agree on what the real problem is. Some say the friend is being selfish, others say the friend is just trapped in a cycle they can't break. No one really knows the truth. It's like trying to fix a broken machine with a hammer. You hit one part and another falls apart. No one seems to know how to fix it. The experts keep talking, but no one really gets what it's like to feel trapped in this cycle. No one knows how to stop it without hurting someone. I started keeping track of every dollar I lent them, like it was a game. I wrote it down, made spreadsheets, and even created a little ledger. It felt like I was running a business, not just helping a friend. I told myself it was just a way to stay organized, but honestly, it was a way to feel in control. I wanted to know exactly how much I was giving. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.